Hello, my name is Raymond Monzon. I'm a supply chain security specialist at the Miami field office for the Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism program, CTPAT. There's my colleague Jose Parando. He's also a supply chain specialist from Miami office. And today we'll be conducting a 7-point container inspection. We'll show you some tools that Customs uses in order to conduct these inspections. One of the aspects of the container inspection process is that when the container arrives at the point of stuffing, a cursory inspection of the outside of the container is conducted. Once again, we're going to focus on the point of stuffing. The more times this container inspection process is conducted, the better security you'll have in your shipment along the supply chain. So once we conduct this cursory inspection, a lot of areas have to be covered. We will describe and show you what those points are.
When you conduct a cursory inspection of the container, a lot of areas should be verified outside. The main thing here is to look at objects or areas that are out of the ordinary. As you can see here in this front wall, there have been wall marks done. There's a compartment. If this container arrives at your foreign facility, this would be one container that you should return because it could be housing contraband. As you can see in here, there's packages inside this void area. Other areas that should be verified are areas that are compartments, like the fifth wheel. As you can see here, there's foreign objects there that you should also verify and make sure that this does not enter your facility.
A lot of times when you're doing a cursory inspection, you should be checking underneath the carriage to make sure nothing is connected. There's a lot of void areas underneath the carriage. Tires should be verified as well. Some tools that are used to do these verifications are mirrors, flashlights, and in some cases, hammers. What the supply chain security specialist is doing is verifying the vibration of the tire. Make sure there's no density, that he feels vibration throughout.
One of the important parts of conducting a container inspection is verifying the locking mechanisms. The locking mechanisms of the doors are very vital. If those locking mechanisms are attacked, your container and your doors will be unsecure. Two common areas where they are attacked are the bolts and the rivet area. If these bolts or rivets are removed, the door can be opened without tampering the seal. So once again, make sure these areas are factory made and are welded so that they cannot be altered or tampered with. If they are removed and are verified to be weak, please replace the container and get one that's more secure. One of the things that you should be verifying as well is the inside of the bolts. The bolts itself are altered or have been welded or worked on, something that you should be verifying. If these signs are there, this container should not be used. Other signs is discoloration of the container, paint, putty, or any type of glue. If these things are found, once again, container should be replaced and one that has more secure locking mechanisms should be used. These are signs that this container has been prepared to introduce contraband. When you're looking in the interior of the doors, one of the areas you should be looking at is the void areas. These void areas have been used in the past to hide contraband. Whatever happens on the inside of the container should also be the same on the outside. So any repairs that you see on the outside should also be on the inside. If you look over here on the other side, you see that there's been repairs done, and this is a sheet of plate of steel that has been placed to hide contraband behind it. Also on top here, they will put a sheet of plate of steel to hide the contraband. Those are areas, once again, if you notice that, we'll return the container and get one that does not have those areas in place. Supply Chain Security Specialist Parando will conduct a systematic container inspection. He will start on the right side of the door, right side wall, and start tapping. What he's looking for is a hollow sound. If in any of the process he sees that the wall or the front wall has a thud, it might be the reason for that might be that there's contraband on the other side of the wall. These are techniques used to make sure that these walls and side walls are not do not have compartments. As you can see, every beam on this container does have a compartment and it is hollowed out, so you should be verifying that. Another technique that is used is to tap the roof of the container to make sure that it sounds, and you hear the vibration, but it sounds hollow. One common tool that is used when determining the length of the container, and this one being a 20-foot container, is a simple rangefinder. This measures distance. If you go ahead and place this rangefinder at the entrance of the door, you will determine the length of the container. Let's try to see how much it measures. As you can see, this container is supposed to be 20 feet. The laser rangefinder says it's 19 feet. You can see there's a 1 foot discrepancy within what the container should be and what the rangefinder says. So there could be a 1 foot hidden behind that wall. Another technique that is used, which doesn't need a rangefinder or an expensive tool, is just a simple piece of rope. You cut a rope already predetermined length, either 40 foot, 20 foot, depending on the conveyance that you're using, and you hold it at the end. If you see anything that hangs outside the door, you could easily determine that there's 1 foot unaccounted for. Another important part of container inspection is the floor. We've done the exterior inspection of the floor during our cursory inspection. But we verify that all these bolts are in place. Any shiny bolts that are brand new should be verified closely. As you can see, Supply Chain Security Specialist Parando has found a compartment within the floor which is housing contraband. Anytime you're conducting an inspection of the exterior of the container, you should always see the C-beams. These C-beams should be visible to the naked eye. If there's any wood or any piece of sheet metal that is blocking these C-beams, that's something to alert you that the floor inside might be altered. Once again, this is something that's very easy and should be conducted not only in the 7-point container inspection, but also when you're doing an exterior inspection when the container arrives there. Some of the tools that are used to conduct these inspections vary. Some of the CBP tools that are used, we're going to go ahead and display some of those. Of course, anytime you're conducting an inspection of anything, especially a container, the proper equipment should be used. Safety equipment like gloves, hard hats, protective eyewear, all these are equipment that should be used in order to conduct the inspection. Some other equipment that is used is what we call a buster in CBP, and this measures density. And in many cases, what this tool is used for is to measure the density of either tires or the beam, and it will give you a reading. That reading will let you know if there's something on the other side of there. As we already talked about, the rope is very important because you could cut that to different lengths and measure the length of the container. We talked about the rangefinder, and not only is it good for the front wall, but also the height of the container. We talked about using mirrors. Mirrors are very important with flashlights. This way it allows people to see underneath the carriage. Another tool that is used is fiber optics. Fiber optics is a good tool because this allows whoever's conducting the inspection to get in areas that are very difficult, like gas tanks or engines. They put in the fiber optic that has a camera at the end. They'll be able to see those compartments. Another tool that is used by CBP is a radiation portal monitor. This measures the radiation inside a container. And as you can see here, with this radiation source, if you were to place that pager next to it, you would get a reading.
This is alerting us that there is radiation inside the container. We have not determined what type of radiation, but that's where the next tool comes in, which is what we call a RID. This RID allows us to determine what type of radiation is emitting from the container. So we would place this in the container and actually determine what type of radiation it is. One of the very important parts of a container security along your supply chain is making sure that the seal that is used complies with the CTPAT criteria. At this time, the criteria states that ISO PAS 17712 high security seals should be used to protect your cargo. This is an example of one of those seals. This is a cable seal that is used to tie across both bars of the doors. Once again, having a good procedure and process of affixing seals, documenting seals, it's vital for your supply chain security. This concludes the container inspection workshop. Remember, anytime that any documentation is conducted, either with container inspection or sealing procedures, will assist not only in security along your supply chain, but any investigation that you will conduct in the future.